Before we venture off to Zapdos, I wanted to share something. At the start of last video I told you I was missing 3 Mystery Dungeon games. The Explorers of Time, Gates to Infinity and Super Mystery Dungeon. But I managed to get all 3 of them in the meantime, which I'm super happy with. So now I got all Mystery Dungeon games. Let's quickly get into the video. So, the plan is to venture into Mount Thunder to rescue Shiftry. But before we go, I did the dojo a few times to make sure we would have a higher chance of surviving. In the dojo, you consume a ticket to defeat as many enemies as possible within the time limit. You will instantly revive if you happen to faint in there, so you can always go on. I did it a few times for both EK and me to get us to at least level 16 and 17. I was also thinking if I would like to use a few dojo tickets on a third Pokemon I would like to bring to Mount Thunder, but I wasn't sure if I would like to use the other Pokemon I had later into the game as well. So in the end I did not use any more tickets. Magnemite was changed to Poochyena for now, because I just like Poochyena more over Magnemite. We first did a few more missions in Thunderwave Cave and Oddity Cave. In those dungeons we also befriended Elekid and a Paras, ranking up from rookie to normal after a bunch of those. The camp capacity and job limit both nearly being doubled is really handy early on. I made sure we had enough equipment and linked some of the moves for the 3 Pokemon we will travel with. We can finally venture into Mount Thunder and face Zapdos to save Shiftry. Linking my moves was one of the best ideas ever. It feels like the game is easier now compared to playing Red Rescue Team in the past. Most Pokemon will faint before they are even able to touch us, but sometimes they can still one-shot me. If you are somewhat new to Pokemon or do not know the typings, I noticed if you open the move tab while targeting a Pokemon, in the bottom left corner you can see the Pokemon you are targeting including the type and its ability. Apart from the random one-shot near the start of Mount Thunder, I didn't have a lot of issues and kind of breezed through Mount Thunder in general. And after 8 floors we found a Hoppip in need of our aid. So after helping, the Hoppip joined our team. But it won't be able to stay afterwards because we don't have bow planes unlocked. I was actually surprised we didn't saw any other Pokemon trying to befriend us before this one. So we are either quite unlucky or were lucky earlier. 2 floors later and we found a Tyrus in need, which would help us a lot in the battle against Zapdos. The next floor is apparently some sort of safe zone, where you can deposit or withdraw items from your toolbox. How convenient! I switched around some items and went forward higher unto Mount Thunder, befriending a Pidgeotto. Just 2 floors later, going up from 12 to 13, we reached the peak of Mount Thunder, EK immediately taunting Zapdos to stop hiding. Well, you asked for this, EK. Demanding to let Shiftry go, Zapdos rejected, which started the encounter. I am happy we made a lot of friends before we reached Zapdos. Tyrus got one-shotted by Zapdos on its first attack, but luckily we brought some of the tiny reviver seed. We want to keep Tyrus on our rescue team. Shortly after, without any other casualties, we defeated Zapdos. Alakazam and his team approached, which provoked Zapdos. But just before Zapdos unleashed its attack, he started to make sense and calm down. Zapdos flew away and freed Shiftry, completing our mission. They praised my strength since I was just a plain Cyndaquil, while Alakazam wanted to confirm that we are not a Pokemon after all. After asking Alakazam about why I became a Pokemon, he couldn't answer that question. However, we can unfold the truth by going to the Pokemon who stares at the sun all day, Xatu. After we left, they kept on talking. There is something that concerns Alakazam but does not want to share it for now. Ready to go to Xatu, I apparently wasn't that ready after all. I wanted to know why EK tries so hard. What's up with all these hard questions, Sander? EK has better things to do. Venturing into Great Canyon, EK shared what Alakazam told us and that Xatu is on the 13th floor. The first floor was probably the easiest. Not sure what gave it away. For the most part, going up to Xatu wasn't a challenge. EK just nearly died, but it happens from time to time. Heracross did want to join our team, and he can actually stay afterwards. Should we try to befriend all different Pokemon in the post-game? A few floors later we reached the Hill of the Ancients, where Xatu lives. Such a beautiful view. EK doing his best to communicate with Xatu, where he doesn't seem to get any response. After a few tries, EK thinks Xatu is asleep, so we have 2 options to do our best to wake him up. Of course, I told EK to tickle him, since that's by far the most enjoyable option here. Tickle, 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 tickle. EK is already tired after 2 seconds of tickling. You really need to work on your cardio, mate. Oh? A response? He finally wants to talk, and immediately jumps to me that I'm no Pokemon, but a human, by just looking at me for 3 seconds. What a madman. What staring at the sun does with one. I should try it out sometimes. Xatu told us that the natural disasters and me turning into a Pokemon seem to be related. He also told us about the world's balance, that it must be restored. Otherwise the unthinkable will happen. What is he talking about? The meanies acquiring world domination they told us earlier? Oh no, it's just the world's destruction. Not as bad as the meanies acquiring world domination. Gengar was listening all this time? Oh, this is bad. We went back for a good sleep at our base. After waking up, EK and I had a good talk. EK was still a bit confused about the world's balance and asked us if we know what it is. Well, of course EK. It's in space. What else could it be? EK has no idea what we're talking about. This is golden. He wanted us to be a bit more specific. So I obviously told him to go there. And he will see what I mean. Do you really not know how to get there, EK? Do you know what wings are used for? Alright, he doesn't have any wings. Well, good thing Pelipper flew by, so EK instantly asked him to fly us to space, without hesitation. You made him upset. Why would you do this, EK? These conversations are amazing. Let us goof around tricking EK all day long. Upon entering Pokemon Square, they were talking about the human transforming into a Pokemon. If we wanted to know more about this still, we had to go to Whiscash, who is north of Pokemon Square. So, going to Whiscash to hear the story about Ninetales, we learned that if you were to touch Ninetales, its still, you would get cursed for 1,000 years. A human apparently did that. But a Pokemon named Gardevoir shielded the human and sacrificed herself to absorb the curse. The reason Gardevoir did this is because the human was her partner. Ninetales asked the human if he wished to save Gardevoir, but apparently the human was already running for his life. So, Ninetales predicted that the human would reborn as a Pokemon, and when the human is reborn, the world's balance will be upset. This is exactly what is happening right now with us. Could we really be the human of that story, or is it all coincidence? Due to this story, EK wasn't in the mood of going on an adventure, but when he wanted to leave, EK still stated that he believes in us. That's very lovely, EK. Another dream with Gardevoir appearing, but this time we were able to make contact for a moment. The contact got cut off at the worst moment, I would say. This could literally be anything, but also fueling our thoughts about being a human from the legends. After waking up, we headed towards Pokemon Square, where I noticed it's awfully quiet. Gengar seems to be telling everyone that the legends is true, and what will happen if they do not do something about it. He tries to tell everyone the Pokemon who was once human needs to get rid of and turns everyone towards us. There's not a lot we can say, since we also do not want to lie. This is going to be an issue. How do we even recover from this? Well, running away is the best option for now apparently. When we approached our base, I had two options, asking EK to end the team or telling him I'm tired of all of this. I told EK I was tired of this and that I don't deserve all of this that we have right now. I also shared the dream I had about Gardevoir. EK tries to cheer us up as always. What would we be without EK? Alakazam and his team came to us for a talk. They had a town meeting after the scene in Pokemon Square. Their conclusion, as expected, they want to get rid of me. But Alakazam didn't want this to happen. Luckily, they did give us the option to say goodbye to everyone and pack our stuff to leave. He is one of the few who really believes in us and wants us to uncover the truth. A few moments later, Caterpie visited us, since he really believes in us since the start of the game. We will always be his hero. I'm going to cry. Alright, so we won't give up. Let's make the best of it. We packed our stuff and we're all set to leave. All our team members have to stay here, otherwise they would also be in trouble. But just when we were about to leave, the Pokemon we saved all came to say goodbye. It is very nice to have such friends. Even Pelipper came by to give us post one last time. This is very wholesome. Pelipper will be waiting for us to deliver mail again. We finally left, running far away looking for an answer. But in such situation, where would you even go? So many questions, so little answers. After a long walk crossing roads and forests, we stumbled upon a cave, but just before entering we heard some voices. The other teams are nearby. We must go quickly. We entered Lapis Cave, which is astonishing at first glance, even though we are running for our lives. The difficulty in here wasn't that bad. But the poison. I had 0 berries with me to cure this. Poison works a bit different in this game compared to the mainline Pokemon games. Usually, you get 1 damage every 4 steps in the older games. But in here you sometimes just randomly get chunked to near death. It might be a small chance every step to get hit for 40. But this seems to be different each Mystery Dungeon game according to Bulbapedia. Luckily, poison gets removed when you go to a new floor. Throughout Lapis Cave, we didn't befriend anyone. This is most likely due to us being fugitives and unable to recruit new team members. Big bummer, since we are already meeting quite cool Pokemon in here. 14 floors later, EK and I both reached level 20 and finished Lapis Cave. You might be wondering at this point why we are not evolving. From memory, evolving is a post-game feature for whatever reason. They are still nearby. Fast, run! We noticed a volcano in the distance. Mount Blaze. The statue is also here to make sure we have the right equipment with us. Kangaskhan is always looking out for us. When trying to enter, we got 2 options. Venture forth into Blaze Mountain or go to Rock Path. Since Blaze Mountain is most likely the way we should be going, I went to Rock Path to see what it is like. Seems like a cozy little dungeon. Even with flowers. Some green moss or grass also, what you wouldn't expect in a volcano. I did die due to poison, so EK must go all alone. And all this just on the first floor. About 10 seconds later, EK also fainted on the second floor. Alright, take 2 until Rock Path. On the first floor we encountered the Kecleon shop again. But now I actually want to show you what will happen if you try to steal from Kecleon. EK got obliterated by Kecleon, but we luckily stole the tiny reviver seed, so we can revive EK immediately. EK decided to die again and took me with him, even though our last death was for educational purposes. This time there weren't any issues. For the most part, it's a game of who can one-shot the other one first. Rock Path is just 4 floors deep. After those floors, you ended up in a loop and got back at the start. Somewhat expected. This time we really go into Mount Blaze. Okay, we had an easy moment earlier, but I don't think it's getting easier than this. Instead of going to the next floor, I tried to pick up every item to hopefully make it a bit easier later. There weren't many issues at the start of Mount Blaze, and we encountered Pokemon like Slugma and Numel. And since this is lava, fire Pokemon can walk across it. I literally had 1 HP left. Good thing we had enough coins to buy an Oran Berry from Kecleon. EK was burning throughout the floor and got hit by Torkoal, which made him faint sadly. Now I must venture forth alone this time. There was nothing left I could do. No berries or apples to save myself. 2 floors later I also fainted. Alright, let's just try again. I know we can make it. On the first floor I immediately took some big hits, but luckily I bought some berries to patch up quickly. The rest of the early floors were not a big issue this time around, but I noticed that sometimes a weather effect will come into place when you enter a new floor, which is quite nice to see. We also found the Waterfall TM, which is handy for the specific dungeon, so EK learned the move Waterfall. Those damn Torkoals, they always seem to fade us, but this time we came prepared with some tiny reviver seeds. On the higher floors we even encountered some Arcanine. Would be lovely to befriend those fantastic fire Pokemon around here. After 12 floors we found one of those Kangaskhan statues again, just like in Mount Thunder, which most likely means we are close to the top of Mount Blaze. I 100% agree with EK, we can do this. Just 2 floors later we reached the summit where EK is surprised about the amount of lava up here. The area turned darker, a voice speaks to us about the troubling times around Mount Blaze. This can only be one Pokemon. Moltres. Moltres thinks we are causing all the trouble around Mount Blaze and starts attacking us. We were wondering if we could defeat Moltres somewhat easily. We could not, so EK fainted quite quickly. Earlier in Mount Blaze we found a Blast Seed, wondering what kind of damage it would do. A big hit of 100. That is a lot compared to our regular abilities. Hoping this would be enough, I did a few more great chunks of damage. But Moltres was too strong. Blast Seed itself was a success, so I checked our items and noticed we had even 3 Blast Seeds. Of course, we took them all and went back to Moltres with confidence. How well would a Sleep Seed do against Moltres? Quite great it seems. Even though Moltres woke up the next turn, EK could do a free hit. It was time to use some Blast Seeds. After using all 3 of them and maybe some Urban Berries, Moltres was defeated. EK tried to tell Moltres the truth, where Moltres was in doubt for a moment, but trusted us in the end. Farewell Moltres, we will do our best to find out what is causing all of this. After a long walk down from Mount Blaze, EK got tired, so we got a small rest while enjoying the view. Since we have come this far, we didn't think a lot of Pokemon would get to us at this point. Most would probably give up before going into Mount Blaze. Apart from Alakazam and his team, I suppose. Those are tougher compared to the other teams we have met. It's funny to see how little emotion Cynical gives compared to Totodile. After a long walk going north, we arrived in a land full of snow. This place is gorgeous, making EK even sneeze. It has been a while since we have seen any Pokemon, but finally we encountered one. Absol was staring from us from distance and fled when we noticed him. This is one of the reasons I love these kind of areas in any game. We might encounter some snowstorms in the next dungeon, but it's worth it. This time we also had the option between 2 dungeons, Frosty Forest and Snow Path. I expect Snow Path to be the same as Rock Path from Mount Blaze, so we went there first, instantly being met with a Blast Trap. Is this payback for using 3 Blast Seeds against Moltres? Snow Path also seems to have 4 floors, just like Rock Path. We got in the loop here also as expected. Now onwards to Frosty Forest. The aesthetic of these dungeons are my favorite compared to everything else we have seen thus far. When trying to go to the 6th floor we got a strange message. Someone has intruded upon the forest. The enfeebled flow of icy winds is the intrusion to blame. It must be stopped. For it is to protect the forest. We went onwards to the 6th floor, but I don't remember ever seeing such message in between floors in the other dungeons. For the most part, this dungeon was quite easy. This is most likely due to both EK and I being super effective against most Pokemon in here. We usually encounter Ice, Normal and Dark Pokemon, well, and I guess Nosepass, as the only Rock Pokemon. On the 10th floor, Kangaskhan's statue was located this time, earlier than the other 2. Instead of being in Frosty Forest, we are now in the heart of the Frosty Forest. Lovely. More Rock and Steel Pokemon seem to appear around here. It's great to see that some of the more end or post-game Pokemon from the mainline series are available a lot earlier in Mystery Dungeon. Transcending a few floors, going deeper into the heart of the Frosty Forest, we reach the end of the dungeon at the 14th floor. The voice from earlier is speaking again. Let's be real, we all know who is speaking at this point. It's Articuno. They really did some amazing animations with Zapdos, Moltres and Articuno. I don't recall the last few bits I did years ago on my old save, and I'm excited about the rest of the game, including what we may find in the post-game. My tactic here was roughly the same as we did against Moltres. First a Sleep Seed and see if it does well, followed by the Blast Seeds we found in the forest. After 2 Blast Seeds we tried to brute force with our super effective moves, and with just using 1 Urban Berry we managed to be victorious. EK asked Articuno to let us pass, but Articuno doesn't want to because of the snow that is melting, that is never and should never melt. Articuno thinks it is us doing the melting. I know we are hot, but this hot? EK could not convince Articuno, who tries to attack us again, but at the right moment Absol stopped Articuno from making a fatal move. It seems they know each other. Absol tells Articuno that we are not lying. Articuno must believe us. We must stop the calamities at all cost. Zapdos, Moltres and Articuno are all counting on us. This is amazing. Absol is temporarily joining us to stop the calamities. Immediately our highest level team member. Are we that far behind? Now that we have defeated Zapdos, Moltres and Articuno, it is a great time to wrap up things and show the cause of the calamities in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like the video if you did and subscribe if you would like to see more of my content. I hope I see you all in the next one. Bye bye.